So I went onto the movie theater tonight and I thought of making this grungy little, almost like anti-style video for you. Bear with me, you'll kind of see what I'm saying, because I also just want to talk about the mentalities that go into different alternative styles, especially like more punk and metal and goth sort of leanings. I was considering how outlandishly dressed down I usually am when I live in the Midwest. I want to talk about being low maintenance in style and low waist, and how that translates into a really comfortable place of like just not having a lot of ego about how you look when you go out. I've certainly found that some of the most gorgeous people I've ever known that care very much about how other people perceive them, especially, you know, aesthetically, superficially, that those people, you know, of course, can be really in their head, really in their egos. And I love when people can just go out and just be really stripped down. Again, I started off in the alternative scene before you ever are even aware of, you know, what to call it. And, you know, eventually everybody's calling you something. And so you learn about it. Like, oh, and we'll also talk about the snake plant, which is trying to say hello. And it's oxygen producing during the day and night. So when other plants are often recommended to be removed from hospital rooms at night because they start breathing in the tiniest amounts your oxygen, this is the kind of plant that NASA backs as producing oxygen all the time. And so it's a great hospital plant, home plant, bedroom plant. Again, they say, you know, don't just like close the door with like a bunch of plants that breathe in oxygen at night in your bedroom, that sort of thing. And so yeah, reconvening at the topic of punk style and goth style and that sort of thing. I started off really, really outdoorsy and girly. I grew up in Oregon. I was wearing little 90s, you know, mini backpacks and skirts and blue glitter lipstick, but I also would have in that backpack Band-Aids and Neosporin and whatever else I thought would be helpful for when my friend and I were just playing through the woods of his backyard and going out to a mountain hiking, Mount Hood, and that kind of thing, where you're just like, you're the girl that's, you know, super nails done and prepared to supply anything for someone who has a stinging nettle issue. I have always had this combination of really, really girly and just go roll in the mud, get your hands dirty kind of style. And especially with that 90s influence of grunge and the girls, you know, boots and pigtails. So it was always such a great blend of those things. And so I think my 90s sort of influence has carried over into my style. And again, as I started getting older, I mean, I was really into just redoing the color of my nails every single night, and I had to have like big crimped hair and platform shoes at a young age. I always wanted to express myself through fashion, and I have such an incredible wardrobe, such an awesome collection, but I don't have it accessible all the time because I move a lot. And so, or maybe like I'll think, oh, I'm just going to be here this amount of time, and so I'll just keep it in storage until the other side. Oh, I know that the water's harder here and it'll be rough on my super delicate, fancy, you know, upper echelon kind of fabrics. And so I'll just put them aside and be like, okay, well, glamour time is later if what I'm doing is heavy construction projects, big landscaping stuff. I get into one-woman construction projects on a regular basis. I would hate to disappoint anyone who sees me when I'm really dressed up, to let them know that I have paint on my clothes a lot of the time when I go out, which is often only to Home Depot and come back and do more construction work. So I've just gotten so comfortable between my, you know, love of punk rock and grunge and really just all things rock for style. I really absolutely love an industrial look. I love tatters for, punk rock clothing and stuff. Fun fact, if you have a hoodie long enough, it will tear in the thumb hole portion. But everybody just gets new clothes all the time that has a styling like if they had had it for a long time. And so just to kind of circle all this around, I basically have always had no problem whatsoever with really rough around the edges clothing. I've had all kinds of styles that mix like a cute mini skirt and a giant band shirt and stuff. I love anything like that. And so right now, this is not even my hoodie. And I just want to be, and it's a great hoodie, really clear that like it's, again, a mindset of just being comfortable with yourself, being okay, understanding that like it's not indecent to go outside without having thought about your outfit that day. That's saving some space in your head. And yeah, you could just have things maybe set up so you don't have to think about it at all and you just get dressed for the day. But that's not what I have, because again, all of my things are in storage, and why would I go to a thrift store and get all this extra stuff when I can just get the fastest things for the cheapest for what I actually need and borrow the rest of it until I'm back with those items again. It's just, again, I'm saving time, I'm saving money. If you're around people that like to share clothes with you, I know I used to be so stingy about sharing clothes. Like I was like, no, this is like the best piece ever. It's the cutout in the back and it's the black with the green lace, and you're gonna tear it. And so I didn't want to share with people when I was younger. And as I got older, like it was very much a like Sam said, like it's just hair, it's clothing, it's just clothing, and one day you'll probably stain it or tear it. So just let someone else feel really pretty in it too. And so just have this like maybe lower maintenance, more minimalist kind of attitude about having clothes. Like it's great to have our sense of fashion, and it's fantastic to be presentable in public. But I just want to throw it out there that it's really one of the best things I think that you can do for yourself to go out and really just not think about how you look. I personally too, I'm a showstopper in what I wear a lot of the time. I literally will go through the store and have people so sweetly, just like complimenting my outfit all the time. And once I came out to this really, really cold climate and I knew that I was just kind of here to work, I'd get dressed up for work, but even then, I mean, it was just, this was the most cold that I'd had for a long time living out here. And just between the fact that like my feet don't really fit any particular size of shoe, no matter what, once I saw so many people out here just braving a cold in the thickest sweats, and some of them wearing slippers, like I was kind of like, oh, so like my feet can fit in those and it's warm, and people don't seem to care out here. I get maybe a few more curious looks when I'm so stripped down, like working on a construction project in a bigger city area or something like that. But for the most part out here, when I just throw on my hood and, like mosey my way through the grocery store, I'm just kind of buried, and I feel kind of invisible, and that's a nice feeling, I think when I was a kid, I was told as like a preteen when I was out and about somewhere, like I was like, oh, what you're doing is embarrassing, or like I'm so embarrassed about this thing. And the person that I was with said, we're in a place that no one knows you. We're never going to be back here again. It was a big like firework display in North Carolina. And they were just like, what do you care? Basically what anybody thinks. And so 10-year-old me like was like so excited about that. Like I was just like, oh yeah, what everyone here thinks about me. I mean, let it be positive maybe, like, but just any harm none, do what you will. And so then I start like spinning, around or just like being really goofy and stuff. And the same person said, well, no, I mean, okay, like within reason, like within reason, don't care what other people think, because there's always a time and place to just be respectful of establishments or other people present and that sort of thing. But in general, yeah, I hope all of that fantastically strung along stream of consciousness kind of helps to explain like how I get to a point of just being really comfortable. I mean, if I got dressed up every single time that I went out, like when I was in the middle of a construction project, I was doing that for like 2 years. Like, like you can only care so much about how you look when your time is more valuable to you. I'm just not going to spend this super significant period of my life, like just doing all the little tips and tricks and stuff. Oh yeah, I have this over here. I was just gonna say, for just being healthy, you will, I think, always look better in any outfit that you could wear than if you were to be extraordinarily unhealthy and wear the best clothes ever, the best pounds of makeup that age you. And, so you just look so great for that moment. I like a long-term love of yourself, your appearance, and yeah, just really, really taking care of what actually matters. I'd rather spend more time doing little spa treatments at home than shopping for clothes or for, so I will borrow someone else's rags. I will wear something that I have to rags. I don't need to necessarily find something that even matches my style that much if I'm going to just completely trash it in a project in a moment too. And so, yeah. Instead of makeup, I usually just wear a face oil, like this Moroccan oil that's organic. And I think that it makes your skin really hydrated looking, and well, it makes your skin very hydrated. It has plenty of vitamin E oil in it to help heal and repair things while you're wearing it. And I just feel like it's so glossy that, I mean, that has to do something for imperfections, right? Like, I mean, it just makes it a little bit, I don't know, disguised underneath a sheen. I think it all looks really pretty just to have your entire natural face exposed and covered in something that is decreasing any fine lines or anything like that, just by being so nourishing. And yeah, I think that shows real confidence, and I really love that energy where people can just go out and just be about, getting that done, getting on the river, going camping. Be messy if you want to, and doesn't mean you're less of a stylista. There's always been a big element of fantasy in my clothing, whether there were fairies on my shirts as a kid, or I had the long, sweeping, dramatic looks as I got older, things that were all different textures, combining multiple eras, just subconsciously adapting that 80-20 rule of going, really heavy in one direction and then having a really juxtaposed piece to set it all off. Goth style was an incredibly natural evolution of all of those really feminine and masculine stylings that I enjoyed combining. When you think of the laces and then the leather, the almost like Viking attire or medieval looks, I love just having that kind of boho, whimsical fantasy sort of appearance. And of course, we all like dressing like characters from our favorite movies or shows. I certainly have a Khaleesi dress, and Shay also, her cute little pink number. I have a dress that looks a little bit like that in my mind. So I like getting clothing that makes me think of different badasses that are also really lovely. I wrote a kind of a silly poem. I get similar to like that kind of like punk rock style. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be an expert guitarist. Certainly don't have to be an expert singer in punk rock. It's nice when they are, but I just wrote this little poem like like I don't know, a couple hours ago when I was thinking about all of this. Hermit mode. People always look at me when I'm out. Some days, I like to slip away into the crowd, wear dated grays and hoods to fade out, give a fake name to avoid word of mouth, like to look like a whisper instead of shout. I notice more who pays attention when I'm dressed down, the way you're noticing me now. As George of the Jungle said, what mean embarrassed? I would be just fine with all of us running around in loincloths, or whatever the colder climate version is of that. I will say for balance that I'm also about to be in a phase of my life where it's going to make so much more sense for me to be dressed up all the time. I'm going into a location that is extraordinarily complementary to my personal style and certainly is a way higher population. I am soon to be living somewhere that I'm going to probably want to be dressed up like a doll every single day, no matter what I'm working on. And so it's just, there's just certain times that you're going to care more about it or want to play with it more, times that it's just going to make more sense. And I think it's really important, no matter what place fashion has for you at that time, to just feel really, really comfortable in your own skin, which you can cultivate by, like I said, saving your time and saving money and just wearing whatever is accessible. Also, the higher end country look as well. Yeah, I sold boots and worked in a Western store for a long time, and I just really do appreciate all the Cripple Creeks and Tony Llamas, and there's really, really glamorous style out in the country, and I certainly enjoy partaking in that too with my little dark twist on it. And that's always a really fun thing to play with in fashion too. I'm just gonna continue the ramble is that you can mix any kind of fashion that you like and make something your own that way in such a cool way. That really is the boho style. You know, we hear that all the time, but what that really is combining all these different cultural influences, having a really eclectic style. And I know for myself personally, I'll have Moroccan and Japanese and just kind of an old world aesthetic. That's why I kind of describe my style as like a dark boho or gothic boho, because I think my favorite style is essentially fair maiden on a hillside with a lone tree and giant clouds that are just almost black with their rainfall and lightning and moonlit rainy night. That's the kind of style that I really aspire to. Just meadows, could be dead flowers, you know, but just something wild and free and with a touch of the underworld. Like any good art, I like when fashion has what I call a lot of replay value, where like a metaphor that you could take in several different meanings, or in artwork that looks different from different angles. One of the most important things to me was always just to entertain myself. I never liked to be bored when you look in the mirror. And these days I've learned to appreciate different signs of well-being and that sort of thing as being the most entertaining thing to me, where I'm just like, oh, my lashes look so very full, fuller than they were before. What a lovely body modification. Oh, my, you know, any scars over, you know, over there has been massaged and has had oil on it for so long. And I've had such great vitamins that it's hardly noticeable now. I might still need some kind of, you know, natural enough laser or something, but here's something that is just really making me feel whole and truly beautiful in any kind of mood or environment, and makes you, again, radiate from the inside. And I think that's probably what a lot of people feel comfortable with when they see me out in public, is that self-possessed and assuredness that I have, that just has this very laid back sort of feeling where they're just like, oh, like this person enjoys decorations, but they're also probably someone that is fairly friendly and open-minded. And with the longest ramble ever on this channel to date, we're going to wrap up actually with that point, which is something that I did want to mention, that I read an article when I was in my mid-teens that was talking about punk rock style that always stuck with me. And what they said was that this alternative style was a white flag to other people that felt similarly. It was just a like, hey, like I'm into similar things as you. I think it's really nice for us to see people that have a very clear sign that says, I'm probably into things that you're into, especially when you're alternative, and it can be a lot harder to find people with your interests, especially the more niche they get. And so, yeah, I hope that you fully express yourself and especially take your time into consideration and what you really think is going to be worth it when it adds up. Like I certainly have periods where it's very, very worth it to me to embrace, exactly what I see in my mind as far as a look. I hope you're always comfortable in your skin no matter what you wear. This little lake is iced over. I could stand on it, it's so thick. I miss standing on ice this way. You can kind of test around at it, but I mean, it's the craziest thickness, and I can see other footsteps of at least some variety out there. I've seen people set up for ice fishing out here, so there must be something that lives in the water that's worth catching. I've been living in this area for about 11 months now, and I still get most places by using my GPS, which has been announced 2 locations like my acupuncturist office after I'd been going there for months, several times a week. My GPS is going off saying, like, you've arrived in their lobby, and thereby indicating to people that I know that I'm not going to be here that long enough to memorize all of the different streets, even though I used to live even a couple years ago about an hour and a half from this location and would drive up here regularly to work and see some people. And when you move a lot, like some people might experience going into like a Walmart or some other really popular chain store where they look very similar, and you start going in the direction of an item that you think is in a certain area of the store, only to realize that you're thinking of the floor plan of an out-of-state form of that shopping center. So I don't really bother to memorize the maps and that kind of thing, but I do get anywhere that I live those places that I revisit again and again. And even if I'm using my GPS for it, I'll make it really special and mine. I think it's funny how the mind works. My GPS tells me a distance fewer than 5 miles, and I get very excited because I've been looking for a house for a while now, and whenever the distance to kind of the area that I want to be is really short, I get very excited. So now I found that just my brain can get triggered by any number below 5.0 to be excited, and that's reward centers for you. Look out for getting carried away with things that overstimulate you. I'm gonna go finish the rest of the stuff that I'm planning to do in town. And I really like when a particular energy reader refers to the hermit card as this is someone who needs to come down from the mountain into town to get things that are called supplies to them. And so here I am in town getting supplies and really loving small town life. It's such a great juxtaposition to the bigger city lifestyles that I've lived, and it just always makes you appreciate, night when it's day and day when it's night. That's going to be a full moon in Leo tomorrow night. It's called the snow moon. At the beginning of February 2023, there's a lot of North Node action, which is your point of destiny. You can, for a full moon, release and manifest. Just setting your intention is really nice because a full moon is leading to a new beginning. It's a really clear form of energetic cycles we're influenced by on a regular basis. When I'm at the grocery store, I walk past most aisles if it's a regular one that just has some organic aisles. And I just see these as all being plastic. And then I find, oh, the real food that's actually edible. People will talk to me sometimes, starting off by making a comment like, "You must really like bananas," when I'm at the grocery store. And I'll, of course, explain that I freeze them when they're ripe. On the way to the movie theater, you can eat something organic that you just prepared instead of getting snacks there. And if you live in Nebraska, you can wear slippers when you go out because it's snowy and it's dark and no one cares or notices. I have lots of boots and they are recommended for the climate of the cold Midwest, but a lot of people wear slippers. Here in the awesome downtown area that's within walking distance of my place, I do know this area very well. It's when I go into town that things get a little bit dicier when I drive to the bigger city for directions. But here it's all walking distance. Small old-time theater, spa, town square, and that is the really fun part of small town living. I get all these old school lamp posts, the cobblestone streets, and very cheap and very gorgeous little theater to go to tonight. We're here tonight to see A Man Called Otto, and I think that's going to be really fun. I would see any movie with the person that I'm going with. Thinking of the fact that I don't tend to get dressed up for something like this because it kind of feels like an extension of my living room at this point. There's those stories of the woman who's cursed with ugliness until she is kissed and then becomes very beautiful, or the woman who tells her man, "Would you like me to be beautiful indoors or beautiful out in public?" as kind of a test of his ego to see, you know, would you rather be able to brag to the boys, or would you rather, you know, have these really special moments where everything is just beauty in our own home? And of course, you know, in that story, he tells her, "You choose, you know, you get to pick however you would like to look." And so kind of slyly, she is just like, "Oh, well, I'll do both, basically. You pass the test." And so she decides to be beautiful indoors and outdoors. So there's just a lot of stories about beautiful transformations and just that huge emphasis that we all put on it. And I just believe so much in being beautiful from the inside that, to me, honestly, it doesn't matter, you know, how I look, especially who I'm going out with right now. I could see any film and just think it deserves an award because of the experience that I get to have with that person. And I just feel like that, you know, with anyone, I will always be drawn to someone's energy and their just general personality over anything that they're wearing. You know, the rest of it's all fun and pretty and lovely, and certainly an extension of our, you know, inner verse that we're expressing ourselves, displaying ourselves that way, but just preaching that low maintenance and minimalist attitude that's better for the environment, better for your self-esteem and just your headspace, to just not constantly be in the mirror, to not constantly be learning new ways to alter yourself that are not going to like just stand the test of time, like a healthy diet would. Why not repair your telomeres on your DNA instead of caking on, as they used to back in the day, like some nice mercury or something like that in the form of makeup? So one of my favorite stories too, I want to mention for waxing and waning beauty. If you haven't read The Chronicles of Xanth, it's one of the coolest like fantasy series I always thought growing up. And there's this great story of our lead hero. He is traveling with this girl, and he's like, I don't know, there's this really hot chick that is a complete idiot that I'm traveling around with. And then at this other time, I've seen this very unattractive, very intelligent woman. Over time, he starts to figure out that she's one and the same, and that in certain light, he's like, oh, is she getting a little bit more voluptuous? Is she getting a little bit smarter now? You know, and so he finally figures out that with the moon cycles, she's becoming more and more beautiful and less witty, and that at other times she's, just going in the opposite direction. And I just think that we all have that inside of ourselves, and that we shouldn't be really hard on ourselves if we are just ready to go out looking like we threw on a burlap sack. That's perfectly okay too. As long as you have really good self-esteem, you'll find, clothes are clothes. As I playfully said to someone the other day, I don't mean to alarm you, but I'm naked under here. You do you, and let's go see how this movie is. Now everything's all closed down. There are limited hours at this theater because it's run by volunteers, which I think is really cool. And if I wasn't so insanely busy right now, I would have half a mind to volunteer here. A Man Called Otto was a fantastic film. It was so great to see just such beautiful storytelling, even if it did have all of those hallmarks of award movies these days. It was just really gripping from start to finish, and I'm sure someone doesn't need me to say that. It was really cool though if you do want to watch it. I like to sit in the front seat when it's a packed house, as it was tonight, because this is a really small, historic kind of cinema, and it's, very intimate setting. But when it's really full like that, about my only option in order to stay out of the spillage of all the perfume and laundry detergent and smoke that people have on them and all that kind of stuff, is to sit in the front seat. And so my my movie date was making me crack up, like when we sat in the front, like they were like, I don't know, is this gonna be too close? And the movie starts and we're like, oh, it's very close to the screen. But like that was super fun, and like that. The person that I came to this movie with is someone that I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of movies with, and they make any film the best movie. Like, I would give an Oscar to any film that I see with this person because they are the most fun to go out with. So Oscar for this movie. I'm sure it already got one, or 20. It's super good, and everyone loves Tom Hanks, right? But anyway, I'm gonna head home and stop being so cold, and just keep encouraging you to do whatever you want and look awesome in your own way whenever you want to. This building gets it. You don't have to be totally brand new, only worn once, to be quite gorgeous. I accidentally deleted 90% of the footage that I just took in the theater. I'm basically a small woodland creature just slapping away at a laptop, trying to get twigs and berries out of it. Frankly, it's a great surprise when anything goes right technologically for me. I don't think I would dress down this hard ever for a movie date in a bigger area, but out here, it's all the more fun to just be able to take your liberties. It's absolutely freezing out, so you might as well be chill in an environment like this. If a tree falls in the woods, Comment, like, and subscribe for more healthy and alternative content.